Breaking news, the 76ers have signed another power forward, but the real question is, are they making strides this offseason? Do they have enough depth at the forward position as they head into next season? We're going to break that down a little more today. Also, we have a new Quentin Grimes update again, and yes, the Sixers have had leverage this entire time, but the situation is starting to get a little bit tricky, so we're going to talk about that more, and the Sixers rookie injury curse strikes again. We'll break it all down here, but welcome into Philly Take with RB. Make sure you have those notifications on as we are dropping videos and going live almost every single day. And if you enjoy this video, leave a like at the end. Speaking of going live, I was considering going live tomorrow for the first actual Summer League game in Vegas. And then I looked at the schedule and it said it was at 10 p.m. Am I psycho? Am I going to go live at 10 p.m. for a Sixers Summer League game? I don't know. We'll see what happens, but Sixers taking on the Spurs. More on that later. But I want to start off with a trade that happened last night, including the Spurs. The Spurs get Kelly Olynyk, and they trade Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, and a 2026 second-round pick, least favorable of Dallas, Philly, and OKC, to the Washington Wizards. And the reason I bring this up is because Daryl Morey and the Sixers need to keep their eyes out for little niche trades like this, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm fully enamored with Kelly Olynyk. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's my favorite player. Matter of fact, we've jokingly made fun of this guy for years on this channel, calling him man bun. He was annoying with the Celtics. But at the end of the day, he's still a decent power forward. And he's a guy that can knock down the three ball. He can move it around a little bit. And he just, he brings a couple layers to your team. And right now, the Sixers need a power forward. They still have no starting power forward. And Kelly Olynyk gets moved for two guys that are essentially first-round players who haven't lived up to anything and a second-round pick. So the Wizards are inheriting salary right now with the hopes next season of having a ton of cap space in free agency. Sixers need to keep their eyes out for players around the league like this. That's all I'm going to say. And speaking of power forwards, the Sixers signed one today. Small forward, power forward, Dominick Barlow signs on a two-way contract with the Sixers per Shams Charania. Dominick Barlow averaged 4.2 points, 2.4 rebounds, and 0.5 assists in 10.7 minutes last season for the Hawks. And now the Sixers have Hunter Salas, Jabari Walker, and Dominick Barlow as their three two-way guys. What does that mean? Somebody had to be the odd man out. And unfortunately, it is Alex Reese, the ultimate tanker, the tankathon warrior. I will never forget the contributions that Alex Reese made to the tank, and I wish him the best of luck in his future. But Alex Reese is gone, and now we take a look at the Sixers' depth at power forward. They have Trendon Watford, they have John A. Broom, Jabari Walker, and Dom Barlow are both on two-ways. Do the Sixers have enough? I want to hear from you. Let me know down below in the comment section. Do the Sixers have enough at power forward? Let's take a look at Dominick Barlow, right? Is this guy any good? Is he going to bring anything? He might be in the G League to start, but Dominick Barlow, undrafted a couple years ago. He's actually a New Jersey native. I think he went to St. Joe's Prep, had a pretty good run in the G League, but Dominick Barlow played a couple years with the Spurs, played about 12 to 14 minutes a game. And then this past year, he went to Atlanta and he played 10.7 minutes a game and put up those numbers. Not really much of a shooter, more of an interior big, but also not really that good of a defender. So is Dominick Barlow going to be a power forward option for the Sixers? I don't know. He's probably just another throw it out, try out type of guy. And that feels like very much of the theme right now with the power forward position. And I can continue to harp on this and argue with people, but I just don't like the approach here when it comes to the four. The Sixers have neglected the position for a long time. They had Tobias Harris here for 5 years. And then last year, they go out and they find an absolute gem in Gershon Yabusele. And what do? They try to lowball him, offer him the minimum, and then he leaves, and now they have no power forward. So they're essentially just signing younger guys. They're trying to hit on another Yabusele, but it's hard to hit on that type of guy twice. That's what they're doing, and they're trying to save as much money as possible. Now, again, a trade could be in store, but in terms of a guy like Dominick Barlow, you just can't really expect these guys, to emerge. Like, you have to really get lucky like they did with Yabu But here is an article that was written on SI.com about Dominick Barlow. Here's what they had to say this past year. They say he had the highest usage of his career. He set a career high in true shooting and blocking percentage, and he cut down his turnovers. He consistently fought for rebounds, and the flashes of being a force on the boards showed up in certain games. He had 13 and 10 against the Sixers at the end of the season. Well, Sixers were tanking, and he had 15 points in the Hawks season finale against the Magic, who also were pretty banged up. Anyway, they go on to talk about more of the numbers, and then here's where it gets interesting. There's reason to believe that a 21-year-old center who has dominated the G League competition has room to grow. The 6'10 forward appeared in 18 games with the College Park Skyhawks of the NBA G League. He averaged 20, 8.4, and 1.8 and 1.3 blocks in 32 and a half minutes. That being said, Barlow is nowhere near the defender he needs to be at this stage. They gave him minutes because Larry Nance Jr. and Clint Capella were unavailable down the stretch, and both of those guys are much more reliable as rim protectors and defensive anchors. His defense was a weak point in his game coming into the season, but he frankly looked overmatched in most of his time on the court. This team, once again, is trying to take the cheaper approach, and the problem is that they feel to be on two different timelines where, you know, they're signing a bunch of these young guards and drafting them, and then you still have the big overarching question with Joel Embiid and Paul George, right? Like two different age timelines, and Daryl Morey said he was going to get younger and athletic, but you still need to address one of the major positions that has not been addressed for a long time. And I said this yesterday, but the Sixers keep trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and it just doesn't work. You need a legit four that can rebound, that can take some of that pressure off Joel Embiid, can defend multiple positions, spot up in the corner. Last season, the Sixers ranked 30th in rebounds per game, 25th in opponents' rebounds allowed, 30th in rebounding percentage, and 30th in defensive rebounding percentage. Now, again, these numbers are a bit skewed based on who was on the floor, but they have been a bad rebounding team for a long time, especially in the playoffs. It has to be addressed, and I just don't feel like they're taking it serious enough. Let me know what you think about that down below. Let's talk about the injury curse real quick because VJ Edgecombe missed last night's game again. I'll be honest, I did not watch much of it because I was busy, but VJ was out. Also, Adem Bona was out with rest. Alex Reese was out with Achilles soreness, and then they booted him. But anyway, a lot of people were like, yeah, VJ was just resting the night before. No, he has a left thumb contusion. Now, thankfully, this doesn't seem to be a major injury, but there is something to be said about the Sixers rookies being cursed with injuries, and it just never stops. And at this point, I mean, we saw what we needed to see in that first game. Would I like to see VJ a couple more times? Yeah, but I'm not going to sweat it. You know, get this guy to the season healthy, make sure he's okay. Speaking of another guard, I think that the Quentin Grimes thing is getting a little tricky. This was a report that came out from Tony Jones. The Sixers are almost certain that they're going to retain Quentin Grimes and even splash cold water on potential sign and trade scenarios. So the Sixers are at least throwing this idea out there. Yes, they still want to bring him back. Daryl Morey already talks about him like he's back on the team. And they've had all the leverage this entire time, right? Restricted free agent rights. Any team with cap space could offer Quentin Grimes an amount of money, and the Sixers could match it entirely and bring him back, and he would have to come back to Philly. But those things can also get a bit weird. Speaking of a team like the Utah Jazz, the Jazz a couple years ago signed Paul Reed. They put a bunch of weird contingencies in there. The Sixers had to match that offer, right? So it was very odd. It was almost like a FU from Danny Ainge to Daryl Morey, but now the Jazz have made a couple big trades, right? They moved John Collins and a couple others. And now the Utah Jazz could potentially open up a scenario where they could sign Quentin Grimes. But other than them, right, maybe the Nets, but they're dealing with the whole MPJ thing. It seems like they're going to keep him. No other teams have cap space. And that is really getting interesting for the rest of the RFA market, right? Jonathan Kuminga, Quentin Grimes, Josh Giddey, Cam Thomas. All of these guys are looking for other teams to swoop in like a normal year and say, hey, we'll give you $20 million a year, right? And then your team has to match it. But all of the other teams have no cap space left. So if you remember, when they first become an RFA, the team has to offer them a qualifying offer, right? So for Quentin Grimes, it was 1 year, $8.7 million. The question is Grimes just going to take that 1 year deal and then hit the open market again next year? It is a real possibility. I just still think it's a risk, right? If you're Quentin Grimes and you're his agency, do you want to essentially give up 2 or 3 more years of guaranteed money with the event that, I don't know, maybe someone gets hurt this season, right? Or maybe, you know, just something tragic happens or they fall off. I don't know. So I think it would be giving up a lot of money. I don't see it happening, but the more that this thing goes on, the more you have a chance of pissing off Quentin Grimes and his camp. At the same time, I don't know why Grimes is waiting so long. It's making it feel like you don't want to come back. Maybe there could be a sign and trade scenario, but the market has essentially been set. There are no teams left with major cap space. So Grimes essentially is going to have to come back. The question is at what amount. The Sixers are playing hardball as they should, but you don't want to make this guy so pissed off to the point where things get ugly. And last but not least, I feel like people are forgetting how good Jared McCain was last year. 23 games, had some of the best rookie numbers by far, would have ran away with the Rookie of the Year conversation. I'm seeing a lot on my timeline on Twitter. Trade McCain. We don't need him. Too many guards. That's been my thing this whole time. Too many guards. You have to keep Jared McCain. He looked like a superstar. He was fantastic. Let Jared McCain rock out this year. Hopefully he's back healthy. Last but not least, the NBA Cup was announced. It'll be earlier this year. The qualifying games will be in October. And the Sixers are in a group with the Celtics, Pistons, Magic, and Nets. So even if they don't win it all this year, maybe they can win the Cup championship and finally win something. Those are my thoughts. Give me yours down below. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that being said, I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.